a call that really catalyzes people to participate in the great experiment of visionary activism. She also has a wonderful new book called Making the Gods Work for You, and a fabulous tape set that's out there called The Language of Astrology, and she has a weekly radio show on KPFA. Please join me in giving her a warm welcome.
So first, I've been given a gift from the Sangomas, the medicine people of South Africa, who gave me many gifts. And they were certainly involved in what I call visionary activism, which is the wedding of spiritual magic and forging the alliance with the invisible with compassionate social action and change. And it's largely also due to their contribution that the transition from apartheid took place. So when I met with them last November, they gave me what's called Muti. Muti means medicine and power. It's the same word. So they invited me to share it with all of us allies, and it is wonderfully potent. So we say, open our paths before all of us and grant us the opportunity to be of maximum good in the world. So what I just showered of molecules on all of us is the Muti known as Usulefe, which banishes evil and greed and short-term vision. So nothing can stop us now. So that we know that the visible is here, and the invisible always rides invisible, and vice versa. And that when we gather and form a container, or when we make something beautiful, then invisible magic comes to live there. So we know now that what we're going to dive into is the description and the instructions of now, this crucial moment, and why have we gathered now, and what is the great force we can gather from each other, from the invisibles, and from this act of gathering. So we know, that all traditional cultures, all pre-industrial cultures have had an intimate relationship to the sky. Mirroring the beautiful order in humans' desire to how they build houses and how they, in ancient Greece, the study of the retrograde, the backward movement of the planets, for instance, Venus, if you study her over an 8-year cycle, forms a 5-petaled flower shape in the sky if you track that orbit. So all temples to Venus were based on the number 5. Again, mythology was not a kind of abstract superstitious belief. It was an intentional way of living reverently in harmony and cooperation with the cosmos. So instead of a spiritual relationship to the sky, industrialism has had a military relationship to space. Weapons of mass distraction have been unleashed upon us. So NASA had a $1 billion rocket explode, carrying stealth, secret technology. All that they would let us know is, if you find any of the rubble, don't touch it. Do not touch it. Call the authorities right away. So we are endeavoring to overcome that and to wed the whole domain of spiritual magic and social action, because that is the unbeatable combination. The idea that, what we might say, the forces of evolutionary intelligence want to cooperate with us. And without them, we are nothing, but they need us also. And we might say that the description, one working definition of what it is to be human, is to discern the pattern of evolutionary intelligence. So we're overcoming the false separation of the political and spiritual worlds, isolation from sources of support larger than themselves. And we're here to re-wed that once again, which it wants to be, and which all indigenous people would remind us is crucial. Entertain the possibility that the invisible allies, we need them. And again, one without the other, political social action is spiritually anemic without the magic. And magic spirituality is a kind of trust fund narcissism without action and without giving our gift to the world. The Mayan word for human means one who owes a gift. And the original meaning of the word therapy, it meant healing, but before that it meant to serve the gods, to serve the visible and invisible forces, and to understand that nature is the beautiful repository of the invisible magic swirling all around us, and that we want to heal our exile from that. And it's designed in such a way that to overcome really humanism, humans as the measure of all things, that we cannot do it alone without healing the spiritual exile that we might say we've been laboring under for 3,600 years, another lecture, but entertain the possibility that human culture has been invaded by the dominator virus. You know, if I can eat it or own it, I can relate to it. You know, and what we're here to eclipse is the dominator virus with the attitude of reverent curiosity as a primary way of humans relating to the world all around us. You know, and the reverent curiosity is the embodiment of the understanding that everything is telling us its story all the time if we have the reverent curiosity to listen and to observe. By the plant's doctrine of signatures, by its shape and its design, everything will tell us how to cooperate with it. And again, this sense of passionate pantheism or animism wants to quicken in all of us, and all of us radiating out into the world to encourage and allow people to participate in the understanding that everything is alive, and that whatever we talk to will talk back, and we form alliances with the living. The word disaster in Latin means literally dis is against, aster is the stars. A disaster is when we pit our petty small wills against the larger pulse of creation. You don't need to know astrology. It's the language of the interrelatedness of everything. And so this idea that dis also in Greek means the underworld. So when we have a dis experience, disease, dismay, disappointment, disaster, we journey to the underworld for a ferociously but necessary regenerating experience to come back up. And the opposite positive word is the word consider. Con means with, and sitter is another word for stars. So it's really, again, the opposite of modern speed, you know, the Nike ad, just do it. It's like, no, don't just do it. Consider first. When we pause to consider, we line up. And again, we don't need astrology. It says our own rascally, wild, trickster, misbehaving intuition is the part of us that knows the choreography of creation. And again, part of what we're here to eclipse also is the whole domain of authority, moral authority being invested in one person or one group. You know, priesthood, any mediation process, because our intuition ties us directly into a telepathic accord with the larger community, so that we can each be autonomous, cultivated, maximally unique people with our gift, drawn into collaboration with people who have matching gifts. One of the greatest illusions that industrialism has labored under is the separation of pragmatism and idealism. And the god Neptune, the planet Neptune that resides in us and outside us, says that is a complete illusion. If our vision is long enough, we know that the rainforest is actually worth more, even in crude, irreverent economic terms, as a rainforest than as 2 seasons of Burger King. If we extend our vision long enough, there is no discrepancy. If we're talking about reality police time, we don't have enough time to, answer our phone calls and save the world. It's over. But if we talk about Neptune time, dream time, shape-shifting time, biological, plant, animal, magic time, what in Chinese fairy tales is called irrational time, where you step into the magic mountain, through the wardrobe at the back of the closet, and you spend time to have the magic adventure, maybe weeks or months, and you come back out, and only moments have elapsed. That quality of inviting in vision and taking time out then says, well, we have all the time we need then. If we can use time to step out of time to gather our invisible allies. Neptune is also how the collective seeks its vision. So in the 1960s, Neptune was in the sign of Scorpio. So the collective sought its mythology through scorpionic means of intense investigation into, sex and drugs and rock and roll. Neptune was in Sagittarius, 1970 to 84. The quest, the journey, endless journeys to India and motel therapies, whatever. But that implies questing for something. 1984 to 1998, Neptune in Capricorn says the visionaries have been in exile for the last 14 years, and we're preparing to emerge full-on. We've been laboring in relative isolation on our own private work, and we are incredibly wealthy. To the left and right and in front and in back of all of us now are allies. People with a shared vision. And Neptune, Uranus also reminds us to expand this out in small and large negotiating skills. These forces say it is not our poignantly small human task to figure out how. How will only depress us because we will be snookered by what I call the reality police, the forces of status quo, into thinking, it's all futile. We don't have drug of the reality police. So is nihilism. You know, there's no future in nihilism. Part of the task of every one of us is to become storytellers. Storytellers who encompass the entire 5-act structure of drama, which could be reduced to saying Act 1 is here we are, Act 2 is away, Act 3 is oops, Act 4 is evil, the confrontation with greed which appears to win, and Act 5 is redemption, the vision, how it